So, hi everyone, and welcome to our first episode. This is a recording of the Jane Austen Society Midlands. We have three people here today who are very much involved in the society, and we're going to share what our role is, how we got into Jane Austen, our favourite novel, and we're also going to be looking at the most recent adaptation, The Other Bennet Sister, which has been on our screens for the past few weeks. So I'll start by introducing myself. So my name is Rebecca. I'm the secretary of the Jane Austen Midlands branch. My favourite novel is Pride and Prejudice, although I did start with Persuasion as my first Jane Austen novel. I got into Jane Austen during COVID. The Jane Austen House did quite a few online webinars, so that kind of garnered my interest in Jane Austen and her works. And then I found the local society, and that's how I've ended up here, really. So, Emma, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'll introduce myself. I'm Emma. I am the chair of the Jane Austen Midlands branch. I was introduced to Austen through the 1995 BBC adaptation. It has been a very influential throughout my academic career. It's why I ended up in part doing my degree in literature and adaptation. Um, very, very influential on me. But strangely enough, I would probably say now that my favourite book is Persuasion. So I've done the opposite of you, Rebecca, probably. You started with Persuasion, I've ended with Persuasion.
There we go. That's good.
Um,
That's always good
and
to
in
try.
an unslightly unfair turn of events, as my sister was the one to introduce me to the Jane Austen Midlands branch, who is also joining us today is Catherine, who is our membership secretary. And we're just making this clarification that there are two of us because we've been told quite a lot that we sound very much alike, unsurprisingly, as we're sisters. So there are two of us. So, Catherine.
Thank you, Emma. My name's Catherine. I'm the membership secretary for the Jane Austen Society Midlands. And like Emma, I first discovered Jane Austen in the 1995 adaptation. Pride and Prejudice is still my favourite Jane Austen novel. I mean, very, very close behind that is Persuasion and then Mansfield Park.
I think it would be more interesting to ask what is your least favourite Austen novel, but I think that should maybe be for another discussion, or
Yeah.
maybe better left unsaid, because I certainly have one, so I would think other people do as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes,
I think we've all.
or the one that you don't like as much, perhaps, is another way of saying it.
Well,
Yeah,
that's very diplomatic, Catherine. Well done. If you haven't gathered, this is going to be quite a sort of informal chat between us. We
yeah.
hope you enjoy it. You might want to pause and get a cup of tea in the meantime, what before we settle in to discuss the other Bennet sister adaptation. Um, so, is that something we want to dive straight into, maybe? We're
Yeah,
we're sort
definitely.
of unscripted here, so
Well, I think we've all watched it now, haven't we?
yeah,
Although we did have. So yeah, if you haven't watched all the episodes yet, make sure to do so
spoilers.
because we're going to be. Yeah, we don't want to spoil it for you.
Yeah.
But we've also watched it in quite. We realised the other day we've watched it in slightly different ways as well. So I know Catherine watched it all in one go, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
watched the first 5 episodes, put it on, and was like, why is there only five? There should be 10. Why is there only five? And then realized there was only going to be five, and then another five in a few weeks' time. But I
gosh,
still binge watched the first five.
definitly, yeah.
What is
I was done by
interesting?
lunchtime. I'd seen them all. Great. And then I watched them all again in the evening.
You watched them again? Oh, I
Oh
have
yeah,
to
I know
tell you
people who
this.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm,
what do you
Oh,
expect if they put it on at 8 o'clock? You're
yeah.
done. You've got your
in the
get.
Mm,
morning.
Yeah.
Well, in the morning I watched the first ones, and then I watched them again in the evening.
Well, I have to say, my sister, Catherine, there, who binged it on the morning that it dropped, then persisted to ask me if I had watched it. Now, I watched it in a completely different manner. I watched it live, as it were, as in, I watched the 2 episodes every week as they aired. I went old school with this approach. Um, so how did you watch it, Rebecca?
So I watched, so the plan was to sort of watch it all in one go. I knew that the first 5 episodes were being released first. So I did watch those on the first Sunday, um, and then watched a bit of them again in the evening. I don't know what that's about. I think it's because you're worried you might miss something that you didn't pick up in the first time you watched it. And then I decided to wait for the next 5 episodes to come out. And but then I decided to watch them as they aired. I think it's because maybe if you're enjoying something, you don't want to sort of
I was going to say, did you want to savor it?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I did that because I enjoyed it's quite a nice viewing on a Sunday evening, isn't it? Just before you go back to the
Well,
working week to kind
I'm
of
pretty certain that's how they aired the 95 Pride and Prejudice. I'm pretty certain it was on a Sunday evening. I'd like to
yeah.
hasten to add, just so people get a frame of reference, I was 10 when Pride and Prejudice aired the first time round. I might have even been 9, but I definitely remember it being on a
You
Sunday
were
evening.
9.
Because it
Right,
was
okay.
like it was like bath time night, and it was just like, and it was the tree, and it was just like you could stay up late sort of before, because school was the
Mm,
next day, and I could stay up and
yes.
watch it. So I mean,
Oh, that's
I have
nice.
this, yeah, so I
Mm,
just sort of went back to sort of like watching it, because it's interesting. It is very bingeable, it is, don't get me wrong. Anybody who hasn't seen it, I can completely understand that when you do and you just want to watch it all. um because it is very good, and I think it's very interesting how they decided to go in half-hour episodes,
mhm.
because that's unusual. That's really unusual. And it's very interesting that not only did they break it into half an hour chunks, they then put two back to back to make it an
Yeah.
hour. But I really enjoyed how they'd done that, because for me, it almost felt like, and I'll just say now, I've not read the other Bennet sister. Catherine's read the other Bennet sister, and Rebecca, you're in the process of reading it, I
Yes, that's
believe.
right. Yeah. Mhm.
For me, each episode was almost like a chapter in a
Yeah.
book. It was kind
Mhm.
of like, this is the the event or the drama that's happening in this chapter, and it sort of concludes it and rounds it up. There was no, even though it's obviously an overarching storyline, it ran, and this is also very interesting, and I have to ask Catherine, it ran like a sitcom for me. It ran like a comedy series, because I did find it very humorous. Now, Catherine, is the book that humorous?
It's not as outwardly funny as the television
Mhm.
adaptation is. It's more like Austen in that it's a little bit tongue in cheek. The whole tone of the other Bennet sister, I would say, is much more serious in tone, but it works. I think it's because Mary's got quite a wry sense of humour.
Yeah.
So I
Do
think that
you like it?
I like
Sorry.
it. I like them because I was really concerned if they were going to adapt it because I was like, I want them to adapt it, but I don't want them to adapt it because I love it and I don't want them to spoil it. But they've done it in such a way that both things are separate, but one is a very good adaptation of the other, which is again an adaptation of an original. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Mhm.
Well, it's almost a fan fiction of the original.
But do
Yes,
you
I
think
mean,
that
there's many layers to Pride and Prejudice when you think it was first written as letters, then it was reworked as a novel, then it's been adapted so many times, sort of post World War Two and just pre World War Two, that it's like in our psyche, it's a cultural reference for us now.
absolutely? But was it that's a TV show like the book though? Did they veer off kind of too far?
They did in little bits. They changed the timelines here and there, but in the portrayal of the characters, and the overarching story. For me personally, they did a fantastic job.
Okay, that's good then. Yeah, I'll
I
see.
I really enjoyed it, but what I found was, because I had a conversation with someone about this, they didn't feel it was a proper, true costume drama for them. And it does feel in a way that it has been slightly Bridgertonized, because some of those costumes were not accurate material. We're just, for all the dress fans out there and all the costume fans out there, let's just address the elephant in the room. Some of those costumes were not
Yes.
right. But
Yes, but at least they had chemises underneath the corsets, which is more than you can be said for a lot of
Mm.
period dramas.
which is also true. But I think what is interesting is there is a certain sprinkling or dusting of Bridgerton about
Mm.
it in the production value. Um, but that because I found, but it also reflected well in the characters, because I found like Mrs. Bennet and Lydia were quite outlandish, but Mary was quite conservative, and as you would imagine, someone to be dressed in a costume drama. So I think it was a nice bridge by using Bridgerton to maybe get a new audience in watching it that
Yeah.
wouldn't have done previously. And also it was a nice nod to cast. Caroline Bingley is the same actress who was in Emma and played Miss Elliot. So maybe she is finding a niche for herself, playing all the really, really uh, love to hate characters in Austen.
Yeah. Oh, she played Mrs.
Yeah,
Elton, didn't she? Yeah,
Yeah,
in
did I
Emma.
say
Yeah,
yeah,
Elliot
so
for some reason?
we knew what you meant. It's
yeah.
fine.
Oh, Mrs. Elton. I've just
Indira
confused
Varma. Yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
Yeah,
What,
she.
sorry.
Yeah.
sorry?
Didn't Indira Varma, who plays Aunt Gardner, wasn't she the Caroline Bingley character in Bride and Prejudice?
Oh, she could have been.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
she was. I think
Mm.
she was. And we have to address the fact that they'd got the original Mary from the 95 Pride
Yes,
and Prejudice as Hill. I thought that
that
was
was really
a
good.
lovely touch to cast. What's her name, Catherine? The
Lucy
Oh
actress.
yeah,
Bryant.
she's Lucy Briar's. That's it.
Love, thank you, Rebecca. Yes, I thought that was a really lovely touch, and they reference her again at the end. I was just
Hmm.
like, oh, I really enjoyed that, I have
Yeah,
to say.
yeah, because I think the first scene they did, well, one of the early scenes we see was just at the optometrists, and I think that was the first scene that they filmed together. And I think the Ella that played Mary was a little bit nervous about being around because obviously,
Mm,
Lucy Briars was the original Mary, but
yeah.
she said she like it. Lucy Briars said, "Oh, it's come full circle now. I'm sort of handing it over to you, kind of thing now."
Mm.
So I thought that was really sweet because it must be quite daunting if you're an actor to start playing the part of someone that you're also acting alongside somebody that
Oh,
had played the part
absolutely.
previously. And
And the thing is, like Lucy Briars had really made a lot of that character when it,
Mhm.
like in other productions, Mary just tends to disappear into the background, or she's just another
Yeah.
sister. She really did make that character her own.
Yeah.
And speaking of characters, what did people think of Mrs. Bennet, her representation of the character?
I thought it was, yeah, I think that's probably how we imagine Mrs. Bennet to be. She was quite vindictive. But I liked the bit in was it the last episode where she said, I didn't want you to be left behind, to Mary. So even
That
though, um,
that was the last episode, yeah.
was it the last episode? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is that motherly affection,
Oh,
and she knows, doesn't she, if anything happens to Mr. Bennett obviously died in this adaptation, but so her sole purpose is to try and get each one married off, so they've got some sort of income. And I think that would have been, she said she was fine. Mr. Bennett didn't do anything to help. So I think that kind of addressed, our
see,
opinion, because she's always seen as quite a comical kind of figure in a way.
See, I really disliked her. And I
Okay.
found that scene that you just referenced at the end, I had absolutely no sympathy for her. In a
Okay.
way, I kind of like the casting was brilliant, don't get me wrong. And I thought that Ruth Jones and the one playing Mary had a look of each other. And it
Mhm.
almost felt to me that she didn't like Mary because she was the one that probably most reflected her. That was what I
Yeah.
felt from that. It was kind of like Lydia and Kitty is how she perceived herself to be and outwardly portrayed herself to be.
Mm.
Um, but or who she wanted to be. But Mary was maybe, apart from the academia stuff, was maybe a more of reflection of how she felt. And I didn't
Mm.
feel like that the fact that she said, and I think this came across when she said, I didn't want you to get left behind. And when Mary said, by whom, I was just like, yeah, your mother, that's who.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
kind of like the mother was most concerned because it was
Mm.
kind of like, yeah, you've married 4 daughters, take that as a win. It's kind of like, oh, I'm concerned you'll be left behind. Who'll look after you? It's a reflection on her because who's looking
Mm.
after her now? Mr. Bennet's died. Because, like, Mr. Darcy's clearly trying to get her out the house. Because I
Yes.
literally, I was just like, because I watched it with my dad. I was kind of like, why can she not go to Netherfield for a bit? Because it's kind of like you get the opinion that, like, Jane would welcome her and it wouldn't bother Mr. Bingley. Why is she always at Pemberley?
Because
Yes.
it's a bigger house, it's more
That's a bit
cachet.
Oh,
true.
I,
Yeah.
I thought I thought it was really well done. And I could imagine, yeah, Mrs. Bennet probably was like, because obviously it is a stress. You've got 5 unmarried daughters, your estate's entailed, what you going to do? But I always find with Mrs. Bennet, there's a certain amount, what's going to happen to me about her
Yeah.
rather than the daughters. It's just like, I'm trying to marry the daughters well because of me. I need to go live somewhere. They need to marry well. Um, but
Yeah.
I
No,
thought excellent casting all round, though. All round excellent
mm.
casting. And I would say that Mr. Collins, he is my second favourite Mr. Collins. I found him absolutely absurd and brilliant.
Oh, yeah. I
Yeah,
thought he was,
definitely.
yeah.
He's my second favourite Mr. Collins. And I have to say, Ruth Jones is, I don't necessarily know if she's my favourite Mrs. Bennet, but she is the best Mrs. Bennet.
For
Okay. Well,
you.
that's high praise then.
She inhabits how I see mentally see Mrs. Bennet from the book and how I see her in the sorry, by the book I mean Pride and Prejudice and in the other Bennet sister. That's
Oh,
how I
that's good.
imagine her. When you've both read the book, I will discuss further about what you think of the last episode and Mrs. Bennet.
Okay.
No, why?
You
What?
probably know
Oh,
something we don't know.
Rebecca, do you want the spoiler, or am I going to have
Oh,
this discussion with
oh no, go
Catherine off
on.
screen?
You can tell us. You can tell us, Catherine. It's
What
Okay.
fine.
happened?
There's no resolution.
Oh.
All she knows is that Mr. Ryder made Mary an offer, and Mary refused it. And so she says, "You're out of your mind. What are you doing?" He won't ask again. Go after him and say you've changed your mind. There's no coming together. There's no.
Oh,
I think
okay.
Mary just realizes she's been thrown to the wolves. They've sort of given her a little bit of, to borrow from Bridgerton, they've done a little bit of the Penelope and her mother, where
Oh,
they
yeah.
sort of, there's a little bit
Mm.
of that about it, I think.
Oh, oh God. So there's no resolution, like kind of
No, or
like a sort
sit
of
down and
therapy session of
No,
let's
no.
address this and we draw a
no,
line
it's
under it.
full
Do you
Okay.
know?
Lady
I
Catherine
I
de
thought
Bourgh.
I thought
It's
you
like,
meant that
I
there
wash
was
my
that.
hands off you. I send no compliments. I'm going back to Lizzie and Jane.
I thought you
Oh
meant that she
no.
didn't end up with Tom. I thought you meant
No,
to just
God,
end it
no.
with Mr. Ryder making an offer, and that's like where the book ended. I was like, what?
Completely
I was
changed the
just like,
ending.
I was going to say that's a much better ending they've given to the adaptation.
No,
Otherwise,
no, the
Okay.
actual Mary Tom bit is how it is.
Oh, that's good then. That's
oh,
good.
sorry, because
You're fine. It's Mary and
literally
her
that
mother.
I think too after the first 2 episodes, or it was after the first four or something, I messaged Catherine and went, "Tell me she ends up with Tom," because I was not going to binge watch it, but it was like I needed to know, and I think that's a good sign that an adaptation is going well when you're kind of like, just
Really want to know
tell
what's
me that she
And
ends
absolutely.
up
now,
with him. because
Yeah.
Not in the time of Jane Austen and Charles Dickens where it was serialized and you had to, and like when they were waiting for literally for the next
Next
newspaper
installment.
or magazine edition to drop,
Mm,
I
and then
have
for
to
that's what I
someone
say,
to
want.
give it to you and pass it round before you could all talk about it.
well, I have to say, I thought that my other question that I said to Catherine was, tell me that Mr. Ryder isn't a Wickham type character, because I got really fond of him as well. Because I thought
Yes.
they were both I thought Mr. Ryder was very like Mr. Bingley. He gave like they both gave
Mm.
like Labrador energy kind of thing. Really, when they say people are like a dog or a cat, they both gave me like really, really nice energy. And I thought I'm gonna be heartbroken in a way if Mr. Ryder turns out to be a Wickham type character.
Yeah.
I thought he had been so
Is,
nice
but
and no,
he's honest about it, unlike
and
Wickham.
yeah, and while
Mm.
he might not be for Mary, he did seem he reminded me of like the Bingley character, very enthusiastic. Um, and I just thought he was really nice. And even though I didn't want Mary to end up with him, I also didn't want him to like have a really villainous story arc. I mean,
Mm,
he kind of left him up Scarfell Pike, which was bad enough, and that was a level for me. I was like, yes, he's a wrong 'un, and that's about the level that I want it to go to.
I thought it was a bit when they're a bit sort of smiley and energized like that. I always think there's whether that's just a front sometimes because he was at one point he wanted to run off with Mary and not actually marry her, but just
Mm.
be able to live together. And then I thought, well, he's come back and he's proposed to get married, but how long, if they did get married, how long would that kind of last for? Because I don't know, he's only changed his mind because I don't know, maybe I'm just being really cynical, but also the
No,
bit where he
I think it's
tells
very valid. The red flags are waving for you, Rebecca.
yes. Okay. Yeah. So, and then the bit where he tells Mr. Hayward about the end, is it the inheritance? That he's not going to
Oh,
get the
Yes,
inheritance.
the
yeah.
I
inheritance.
think Mr. Ryder knew exactly what
Oh,
Mr.
yes.
Hayward was going to ask Mary, and he knew he had to try and stop that. So I think there is a certain element of I can't let Mr. Hayward marry Mary because I want to marry her. So there was a bit
That's
of that
very
as well.
true. I had overlooked it. The red flags were there, and I completely overlooked them. No, I like to
Anyway,
just think maybe he was a bit clueless, but no, he did that.
okay,
No, I think no, I think you're quite right to be cynical. I think
okay.
that definitely was manipulation when he's like, Tom, can I just have a word in the middle of you? Like, no, no, they're up a mountain. He's proposing. It's just like, yeah.
Exactly. That's not going to happen.
What
But I
There's
did you
so
did
think
let
much
of
happening in the romantic landscape. Let it be.
yeah,
exactly.
but
Yeah.
the proposal when it came from Tom, we should say, was very nice, I thought.
Yes.
Yes.
And he got
It's
round.
almost sort of
Got, got,
Captain Wentworth level.
Categorical, yes. We were
yeah.
satisfied with the
We
second
were
proposal.
satisfied,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to think of his name, but yeah, it's very Captain Wentworth level from Persuasion. It's just like, yes,
Mm,
that will do.
Yes. It was very appropriate for an Austen hero, I think. It was quite low key kind of
mm,
thing.
It felt
yeah.
true. It didn't feel staged.
No.
Yeah.
I.
And I like how Mary had sort of grown in confidence and she was kind of like, where have you been? Kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She didn't just sort of run up to him and think, oh, thank goodness you're back. She was like,
Yes. Yeah.
that's not a very good reason for you to have left in the first place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there was that because a lot of some critics were saying, just sort of prettifying Mary and making her end up with a husband. It kind of goes against a little bit of the reason she's there in the first place. But I think because,
Yeah,
like you said, she did go on and have her own life, you
yeah.
know,
I
before.
think the glow up is incidental, but it helps her build her own courage and her own image. She's not a Bennet sister. She's
No, 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 no. I would say that I don't think Mary's ever described as like ugly in any terms.
No.
no,
I just think she is plainer compared to her better looking sisters, I'm doing that in quotation marks, better looking sisters, that when
And
she's allowed to
certainly,
be on her own, she can shine on her own and people can appreciate that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
her aunt just helps her to find better colours to choose from for
Yes,
her outfits
because
and a better
let's
style.
Yes.
because let's face it, you're in a household of five sisters. Everybody apart from Jane will have been in hand-me-downs, and she'll have probably even
Mm.
been in her mother's dresses that have been made over. So you
Yeah,
won't be in your own colours. You'll just be in whatever's handed down from sister to sister.
or even
Yeah.
what's in vogue that season, or things have been re-dyed
I
because they've
can't
got the
agree
Mm.
that
change
she
of
has
the.
a glow up in the terms that people imagine a glow up. She has still got a couple of dreadful bonnets in that
Oh, she
Yeah.
still has.
And some of
towards the
the,
end.
Yeah,
She
maybe
I
not
think the
glow up
red
as
and
we mean
gold
in a
dress.
in a in a modern sense then,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
she's allowed to develop her own style, shall we
She's
say?
allowed to shine out
Mm.
of the shadows of her sisters who
Yeah.
completely overshadow her because they're all both great beauties, or and Lydia's vivacious, and you get the indication Kitty is also vivacious.
Yeah.
She's allowed to be herself in her own
Definitely.
setting,
Yeah. I think the gardeners
I
are
would
really,
say. I'm
really
on the
good for
defense of Mary here against the critics.
her. Okay. Well, I don't know. It was maybe a couple of critics, that's it. But I think most people enjoyed it. But I like the gardeners.
Yes.
Obviously, they were a lot more kind of liberal and, um,
Yeah,
you
and a
know,
very important for Mary to see a different kind of relationship, a married
Mm,
relationship, a
yeah.
much happier married relationship, an equal marriage relationship.
mm.
Mm. Yeah,
It's
definitely.
interesting that I don't know if this is in the book, that they shifted the focus onto Lizzie and Darcy's relationship, as it were, as opposed to Jane and Bingley. Does she ever visit Jane and Bingley?
Because they've played around with the timeline
Ah,
in the
okay.
book, after Mr. Let me see if I get this right. After Mr. Bennet dies, she stays with the Collinses. She visits Lizzie and Darcy, and Lizzie and Darcy and Georgiana are their own little sort of triangle of happiness. And again, she's an outsider. She goes to, um, she does go to Jane and Bingley, but again, they're very much a couple, and her mother's there, sort of taking over. So, and then she goes, and then she's with the Collinses, and then she goes to the Gardeners. She's back to the Collinses, I think, and then she's the Gardeners. So she sees all these different relationships.
Yeah.
But it's
Okay.
not really until she goes to London that she starts settling into her own setting.
Well, I have to make a mention of the fact, how do you beat a wet shirt scene? You have two men in wet shirts. It was
Yes.
just they had to homage it. It just seems like it's something that has to be done. And to have it was just
Absolutely.
like, how do you best Colin Firth in a wet shirt, or a Matthew McFadden in the morning mist, if that's your thing? It's like, no, have two men fighting over you, pulling
I'm
you
trying to.
back ashore in a boat, and then aggressively untying your cravat. It was just like, yeah.
Yes, it was really good.
Yeah, they've done a lot of they've done a lot of nice things. Like, it's really interesting. Whereas like Bridgerton has gone like really full on for like a much higher certificate rating, as it were,
Mm.
with the scenes they choose to depict. This has kind of like made people on the internet, for want of a term, quite feral over the fact that it's basically all you're seeing is like a man rolling up his shirt sleeve, or that they're wet from the water, but there isn't, in no way, their shirts don't seem that transparent.
Mm.
And it's I thought it was a really nice homage to the
Yeah.
95 one that seems to have sort of been the origin of all of this, but it still seemed appropriate, while again bringing in maybe a newer audience to watch something which is
Yeah.
maybe more age appropriate, for people, as it were.
Yeah. I suppose because it was pre-watershed, wasn't it? So I suppose it had to be. But yeah, I think it's got nods to the kind of fans, that have been kind of following Jane Austen for years, but also I think because Bridgerton's so popular, they have to kind of make it a
Mm.
bit more like that now. Um, but
I
yeah,
think
I think there was some
I
other.
think it's a good way of bringing in the new Bridgerton audience, as it were,
Mm.
because it's a much younger demographic who might not have been introduced to Austen, who are just that bit too young, maybe, for the Keira Knightley production of Pride and Prejudice. Because really, while there's been multiple productions since then, nothing's captured the imagination since the 2005 Keira Knightley Matthew McFadden version.
Well, that's what got me. That was that version that got me interested in Jane Austen in the first place. So, but I'd
Oh,
never
that's
really,
interesting.
yeah. I remember the 1995 one being on, but I don't think I necessarily sat down and watched it, and I didn't really know that much about Jane Austen and stuff. So, but looking back, it's interesting because now that I know more about her, I actually find the 95 one obviously more. But then you can do more with a TV series anyway, can't you? Rather
Yeah,
than,
it's all, yeah, exactly. It's like the other Bennet sister is the 10 episodes, 5 hours then?
5 hours, yeah.
Yeah, 5 hours. So,
Same as
imagine if they
95.
tried, yeah, imagine if they tried to make the other Bennet sister as a hour and a half film, 2 hours at the most. It wouldn't be the same.
yeah. No, I thought it was really good. I like the way they explored the characters, like Mr. Collins, and I actually felt a little bit sorry for Caroline Bingley,
Yeah.
especially when they got stuck. I think also obviously she got a foot stuck in the boulder when they decided to stay up for the storm. But also I've always wondered what happens to her after the Pride and Prejudice story finishes. I would like to
Well,
think she goes on and finds a love of her own.
yeah,
So yeah.
by any means possible. I did
But yes,
enjoy that she was going off to Italy to get Mr. Ryder.
cute.
It was
Yeah,
kind of like
definitely.
I let Darcy slip away. It's not happening twice.
No, absolutely
She
not.
she was a fantastic character because she had the set downs that she deserved from Mary,
Mm,
but there was a nice sort of redemption arc for her. They were never going
yeah,
to be friends,
no.
but there was that kind of
Mm.
understanding by the end.
Yeah, when she comes to visit her, doesn't she? And they
I would just like to say I really enjoyed the Mr. Hurst
I
character.
was
He
going
came
to
out
oh
say,
of
can we
yes,
left
please
field
talk about
with his
Mr. Hare
horses. I
and his
thought that was
horses?
very funny. Yeah,
yeah, it
very
does, yeah.
funny.
That
Just kept
that is a
popping up
very
about
funny part
horses.
in the book. I do love that part in the book.
Yeah.
And I
Okay,
think
I'm
it's a
gonna have
little
to check
bit of
that.
redemption for Mr. Hurst as well, because he's such a remote figure in the book.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Always
I
make him
mean,
very boorish as well, don't they?
Yeah. Which
well,
which
the
he probably
19,
isn't, to be fair. He's probably a gentleman down on his luck with no money who needs new money, and that's
He's had
Louisa
to
Beale.
marry
yes,
into trade.
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
and he's probably the bottom rung of gentlemen.
Hmm.
But it gets a foot in the door because obviously it's got connections because they're at St. James in Pride and Prejudice, so they
Okay, yeah.
do network very well.
Mm,
But it's just like in Downton Abbey where Cora's come in as the American dollar princess. They're the
Hmm.
industrial
mm,
princesses.
yeah, definitely. Oh, I think
Any standout moments for anybody that there was like a bit they particularly enjoyed or a character they particularly enjoyed?
I enjoyed that Tom had glasses. As a
Oh
glasses
yeah.
wearer myself, I was just like, and because of Mary as well as being portrayed as wearing glasses, I was just like, yes, we need more glasses wearers. Glasses
Yeah.
were a thing for those that could
they would
afford
have been.
them,
Yes. Mm,
especially
yeah,
for somebody
absolutely.
professional.
Oh, just that he was
Definitely.
so sweet. He just really was. He was just so nice.
He was lovely. He's a cinnamon roll, and we must protect him at
Yes.
all costs.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
he's very much a hero in the mold of the one in Northanger Abbey who knows
Uh,
about muslins.
Oh
Henry
yes,
Tilney.
Tell me,
Tilney,
yes.
yeah.
Mm,
Very much a hero in that kind of mold. You could imagine that he would know about muslins or something
probably.
like that. Yeah.
I mean, I always think Henry, if I were going off piece, I always think Henry Tilney's ecclesiastical gear would be top rate.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he'd have all the
His
best
liturgical
embroidery.
garments would be
Absolutely.
full silk, all the
Mm,
tassels. He'd be
Yeah.
quite. I think he'd be
Definitely.
quite high church. Would lend with the Gothic.
I bet the hassocks in his church would be nice as well. He'd appreciate the needle craft of them.
Oh yes,
Workmanship, yes.
it'd be all the drama. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this has been a great discussion. I think we could
Yeah.
probably talk for loads more time, but
But it's nice to have the opportunity for Austen fans to discuss with other Austen fans.
absolutely, yeah.
And we hope everybody who, if they've made it to the end of this, has enjoyed it as well.
yes, definitely. It's been good.
There'll undoubtedly be another one when the Pride and Prejudice film
Yes,
releases, because
the
I will
Netflix
have
one.
many thoughts on Mr. Bennet, I imagine, being played by
Yes.
Rufus Sewell. Let's
Oh
hope
well,
he
I
gets
know,
some screen time. Such bad casting, but by Jove, I'm going to enjoy it.
I know, I know. I saw a post the other day on Facebook because somebody said, "How am I supposed to, you know, fancy Mr. Darcy if Mr. Bennett is Rufus Sewell?" So,
That's funny. That's really
so
funny.
it's true.
He'd have
So,
made a fantastic Wickham in his day.
oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
He wasn't. He's never been a Darcy type. He would have made a brilliant Wickham, though.
Definitely.
I could imagine him doing a Wentworth. He could do Wentworth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would just go to cast Rufus Sewell in every role. What role would we put Rufus Sewell in each novel?
That sounds like good. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe they should do
Maybe
a
next time.
Yeah.
continuation of Persuasion, and it's like Persuasion, the next chapter,
Yeah.
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 Sequel.
the
Yeah.
next voyage.
Well,
Yeah.
as Rebecca tried to do before, let's try and bring this to a close before we get cut off by Zoom. But thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Catherine, for joining me.
It's been good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll see
So
you.
I was going to say, hopefully, the first of many.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Thanks. Okay. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
listening,
everybody.
everybody. Okay.
Yes, thank
Bye.
you. See you soon. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye. Bye. Okay. So, ready? Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome.
Sorry, is Catherine here yet?
Yes,
I
I'm
can see
here.
you.
Oh, sorry, I can't see you. Sorry.
You can see
All
half
right.
your head.
Oh,
I'm here.
okay.
Okay.
Do some
Sorry,
talk
I'm
on
trying
here.
not to giggle now.